Hey everybody, welcome to What Happened Was. KB here with.
Angela Overkill Hill.
Hey,
I'm
did you
back,
listen to that?
guys. Back. I
She's
got my
back to
beer.
her old
I'm
self.
back.
Yes,
Back on it.
nice.
Back on the first.
I'm having a beverage. I'm having a vodka and sparkling water, and it is I feel like a mark for saying so, but it is a watermelon lemonade club soda with my vodka. So I feel like a mark. Like I feel like that every time I buy watermelon. I'm like, I feel like everybody's in the store is like, of course you're buying watermelon.
Yeah, but like it's delicious.
It's
So of
delicious.
course
Exactly.
you're gonna buy the one that tastes good.
That's my comeback is always like, it's delicious. That's the whole thing. But yeah, so you're having a
Yeah.
beer?
I have this Mexican lager. It's Zacatecas style, so I felt like that would be like nice and nostalgic. Or
Nice.
I don't know if it's Zacatecas style, but it's called Zacatecas. So there you go. Shout out
So,
to my peeps in Zacatecas.
that's
And
right.
out to
That's right. I know you trained there. You trained there a decent amount, right?
yeah, I trained there before my fight in Mexico City, my last one, and it made a world of difference. Like it was maybe 1,000 feet above altitude of
Right.
Mexico City. So when we went down to Mexico City, or I think it was like north, but when we went like down altitude to Mexico City, there was no difference. So
Right.
yeah, good to go. No,
Nice.
no slow, slow plottingness there.
Right. Nice, nice, nice. Well, listen, folks, we figured we would do a Q&A episode. There were no UFC fights last night. There were some other fights that went on this weekend, and we will probably end up talking about those as well. But we figured we would do a Q&A episode, although we are back this weekend. We have Gastelum versus Cannonier, and I'm working that one. Really excited. Actually, I think that's going to be an entertaining fight for sure. Okay, so, Ange, we got a lot of questions here, and there is one from Anthony Artisan on Twitter. The handle is Hamcrabber. So, Hamcrabber is asking, what are your thoughts on cross promotion fights, and do you think we will see them? There are some real interesting matchups. What do you think?
Well, I think that would be great. I don't know how it would work money wise for the big honchos in the
Yeah,
driving seat. Like I don't know if UFC and Bellator could ever get together and put on something like that. But I think it'd be amazing. Like a Bellator and One FC do it, or
mhm,
no, Risen. It
right.
was Risen and
I think
Bellator, I
so. Yeah,
think, that did one show, and it's awesome because you really get to see how these athletes match up against one another, especially when they do like the champ versus champ uh uh promotion things. and
hmm
then and then one guy, if they're a Bellator guy and they win the UFC belt, they still have the belt and they have to defend it even though they're under the Bellator banner. So I feel like that's why they get a little weird
right.
about it, but I think it's awesome. Like you can even have like a fake like UF Bellator belt,
Right.
like Ultimate Bellator champion belt or something where you can like, yeah, not get rid of the champ's belt, but still like have an exciting fight to put on.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's possible. And like I think that's really partly what it is, right? Is who wants to know what's risking. And maybe you just don't do champs versus champs. I think the interesting thing with that too is with Bellator, especially Bellator and PFL to some degree as well, there are so many former UFC fighters. So, for example, when Ryan Bader went over, there was a lot of talk about, well, we could do a crossover fight with Bader and DC never fought. And remember, there was like a
Mm,
bunch of different ideas that could have happened. And I agree. I think it would be so cool to see. And partly, I think the reason this one came up as well is Gegard Mousasi just won his fight on Friday. He is the Bellator middleweight
yeah,
champion. Yeah, my buddy, two-time champ. And it's so funny because I had my doors open and I was like, I hope my neighbors and I even tweeted out, I said something like, I crack myself up when I'm cheering for my friends because I'm screaming, I'm like, effing up, like effing up, because,
yeah.
when it's our UFC fights, I'm supposed to stay a little more neutral. But like, if I'm watching another promotion that I don't have anything invested in and my friends are fighting, I'm a cheer for them.
Yeah,
And so
yeah, you get there.
I'm cracking myself up cheering for him. Everybody knows we're great friends. We have so many interviews over the years. So he would be a perfect one, right? Because I know a lot of people were mad when he left the UFC in the first place, and he really left because of money. And he wasn't getting the
Mm,
title shot that he thought he deserved and earned. The man has 48 victories in MMA, 48 wins and only 7 losses. It's effing insane. So he would be the
It's
perfect one for a
crazy.
No, it's insane. It would be he'd be a perfect one for a crossover. So I would love it. And I think really what it does come down to is, yeah, like the business egos of the companies. And like, yeah, who would, maybe if you equally said, we'll equally pay the bill and we'll equally, pay the fighters or something. I think it would be so cool. I would love that.
I would love that too. And I think Masasi like probably has the best chance of challenging who would it be? Adesanya, right? He
Yeah.
has the best chance of challenging Adesanya out of all the top like 6 or 7 middleweights in the UFC. Like he has like the grappling, he has the
Yep.
striking, he can present, I guess, issues that Adesanya had in the Blachowicz fight.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff there, and he's not just like one dimensional.
Yeah.
He's not like super predictable of everything. He's slick with it. So I think that would be a really awesome fight. I would love to see that happen. I mean, maybe they'll snatch him up again. Maybe they'll be
Right.
like, hey.
You want to come back?
Maybe we'll pay you now.
It's funny because the whole
remember
time,
us, buddy? Come on,
remember
back.
us?
Show up. Dana shows up with a suitcase of money or something
Right.
like that.
Right. Well, because I definitely thought, honestly, it's funny that you say that because the whole time I was watching it, I was imagining him fighting Israel because Salter did give him some challenges. The first round was tough, and Salter is a great grappler, and Gegard was able to defend that. And I really, I'm okay with Gegard losing that first round. I think that's cool if you gave it to Salter because he was controlling the action more, even though he didn't really hurt Gegard at all. He had him against the fence. He was controlling the grappling exchanges, and so the second round would get, then things changed, and eventually, Gegard was just like, F this, I've had enough, and put the smash on. And I think Salter just got too tired from that attempts at the grappling, and Gegard was able to, stuff the takedown attempts and stuff like that. But exactly that. Literally, really, the reason he left was because of money. If Dana came back and secured the bag, and I hate to say it because Scott Coker has been wonderful, and I know they have a great relationship, but I would love to see Gegard in either back in the UFC or in a crossover fight. I would love that.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe he could get like a one-off contract or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. I think ever since what's Homeboy's name?
Well, there was Phil Davis. Well, Phil Davis went over there, and Bader's over there. I mean, there's so many of the guys from the UFC that are over at Bellator now.
Yeah. No, I think that would be really awesome. Yeah, and everyone knows that. I think by now, Bellator fighters who have been successful and come over to UFC have proven that they're not just successful because they're in Bellator, because they're not the best fighters in the world. Like they are, and they're getting there, like they're getting their experienced, and they're destroying people who are just as good as the guys in the UFC.
Yep.
And when they come over and they do well, then it's proof of that. So I think that would be awesome.
100%. Mike Chandler. I know Mike Chandler's a great example of that. So,
yes,
so yeah.
Yes. I was like, who's homeboy from fucking?
It's Mike Chandler. It's Mike.
I wasn't prepared for the question.
It's Mike. It's Mike.
Yes,
all right.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, so there's another question here. Okay, so Angie, this is from Thomas Christopher, Thomas CP _ NFL on Twitter. Thomas is asking, Angie, what's the worst injury you've had going into a fight?
I've been pretty lucky. I remember before I went on Tough, I had a really bad ankle injury, but it ended up healing itself. But I think before who did I fight? Oh, before the Ansarov fight, I broke my toe. So it sounds stupid, but it was like, it wasn't the big toe. It was like the next one over. So if this is the big toe, it was like this one.
Yeah.
You got like
the ring finger toe. Or no, the second. Yeah. Second one. Not, yeah. The pointer toe.
Yeah, the pointer. Yes, I pointed things with that toe. Yeah, so it sounds like a stupid injury, but it sucks because you can't run. Like any running I did was like, mild jogging. I couldn't like sprint. I always had to be on the Aerodyne bicycle, which sucks because I always feel like I'm falling off. And whenever I was doing like pads or training live, I had to wear wrestling shoes. So it was just an annoying injury to work around. And then in the fight, it kind of made me a little overly cautious to where like towards the last round, I was throwing that foot like crazy, and I'm like, why didn't I do this the first round? Like I forgot, like the adrenaline's gonna kick in. Like, you
Yeah.
don't need your toe after the fight, so you might as well break it again on her fucking elbow or face or whatever. So, so that's probably I'm very lucky because I know that's nothing compared to what a lot of people have gone in with, like broken ankles,
Yeah.
broken knees, like torn ligaments, dislocated shoulders. I've seen it a few times where guys will dislocate their shoulder in between rounds, pop it back in, and just kind of like play it off, like, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm good. Okay, let's go. So yeah, I've been very lucky. I'm a knock on wood too. After that,
Yeah.
I've been
I'm
very
a knock
lucky
too.
in my
Yeah.
fight camps. I haven't had to go into injury, and I've never pulled out due to injury too. The only time I pulled out was COVID
Because of
for
Rona.
fucking t-shirt.
Goddamn Rona.
Fuck all of them. Fuck COVID. No, no.
All that. All right. Well, the same
I'm better
person.
now. I'm better now.
No, you're doing good. I love that you're back to spicy Ange. So Thomas is also asking them for me. He said, "What was the most awkward experience as a broadcaster or interviewer?" And it's funny because then I really had to like look back on that, and I've done so much different kinds of stuff. I mean, there were moments of it's so weird. I don't know if I have like one thing that went terribly wrong. Like I've done so many different kinds of interviews. Like I was a VJ at MTV. I've been on CNN. I worked for TLC. Like I've done a bunch of different things. I think one thing that I did do, which was kind of funny, on if people who watch Junkyard Wars know this show, the people were supposed to show up and they weren't supposed to know what they were going to build that day. And it's supposed to be like a surprise that we reveal on the show. And one thing that I did, it was like my first day there, and we're talking to some of the people, and I was like, "Oh my god, yeah, that's so cool that you guys are going to be building paintball shooters." And then I was like, "Oh no, I wasn't supposed to tell them what they're. Oh shoot!" But yeah, luckily it was like right before the show, and it wasn't a big deal. Like I gave them like literally like a 5-minute heads up. You know what I mean? But I was like,
Okay.
oh, that was the thing I wasn't supposed to do, was it? And so,
Yeah, they wanted to see the real shot on their face, like, who?
yeah, so that was
You
one of
ruined
those.
it.
Yeah, that I know I did, that other people maybe don't know that I did. Like, but I know they did that. And then otherwise, yeah, like luckily I haven't really had any, again, we're knocking wood a lot today, any like crazy awkward situations. I mean, there's just been weird interviews, and I've said this before on the show that Dominic Cruz, our beloved friend, was one of the harder interviews at first because his sense of humor is kind of obtuse, and at first you don't know if he's cracking a joke or what. Like you don't know at first. If you don't know Dominic, you don't know. And I remember walking away from then, I was like, I don't even know if I'm gonna air that interview. Like, I don't know if that was good. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what happened.
Oh man.
And then I
That's
did. And then,
amazing.
of course, eventually, the more I get to know him, the more I know his sense of humor, and I get it. But I do
Yeah,
remember
he's
him
the
being,
strange guy.
yeah, he was like the one where I was like, I don't think that went well. And I'm very competitive. And so I like to like win interviews. And that was very hard for me. So
I want to see which interview you're talking about now. Did you ever air it?
I did air it. It's when we were in Vegas, and I remember we were at either, I want to say MGM or something, and we were in a lounge, and it was one of those things where there was like multiple people doing interviews that day. So I specifically remember sitting in yeah, I think it was either at MGM or one of those, like in a lounge thing, and sitting there in like a bankhead, like in a booth thing, and then walking away like, I don't think that was good.
Well, it's kind of like a fight, right? Like
Right.
you like might not be too proud of your performance, but then you watch it back and you're like, oh, okay, that didn't go as bad as that.
Yeah, I'm hypercritical for sure. I fully admit that I am very critical. So yeah, that's totally right. Okay. So let's see. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
so
Okay.
funny.
Yeah. All right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Actually, we got a lot of questions in here this time. Okay. So, oh wait, let me see. If I could learn how to work my thing. Okay. So, how about there's a few of these that I thought were a little bit strange. Okay. Well, here's this one's not strange. It's just a whatever. This is from Rick G the Prophet on Twitter. Do you think same day weigh-ins and hydration tests will ever become a thing in the UFC? Same day weigh-ins. You're the one who's got the issue, so not me.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that would ruin too many fights. I think UFC likes to be prepared for any craziness that might happen. And if you have same day weigh-ins, a lot of people are going to be getting fucked up on their way out. Like we've had this year, we've had a lot of people get hurt or pass out or have like, I don't know, like heart murmurs and shit
Mhm.
on their way out, and they had a whole 24 hours to rehydrate. And I feel like if you do that abruptly, then a lot of fighters will show up and still cut the weight normally or close to normally, and then walk out there really like dehydrated and messed up. Like look at poor homie that Jeremy pushed. He
I
almost
know.
got paralyzed.
Yeah,
Like
Jakar close. Yeah. Yeah.
shit from getting pushed because he wasn't hydrated yet. And that's about the
Hmm.
amount of time that you have. It's like 3 hours you're sitting there drinking and waiting for your ceremonial weigh-in. You'd have maybe 12 hours at the most uh, to rehydrate and then fight. I just think that it wouldn't work with the UFC because it's already so established. Like maybe if they started doing it in other promotion or other countries, and
Hmm.
like, oh, okay, if, just letting you guys know, if you go to this country, you have to do same day weigh in, and then people would be forced to adapt. But
Hmm.
I really feel like the UFC wouldn't have it just because there's too much unpredictableness with it. Like everyone have to move up a weight class.
Yeah.
Some people would want to stay in a weight class or go up a few more weight classes, and all that shifting around and stuff. I feel like they don't like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's too much craziness involved. I think they're just gonna keep it the way it is and just encourage people. I mean, I feel like having the PI and having the nutritionist on hand is a really good step towards making the weight cut process a lot safer. Because before we were all just doing our own thing. I like the only weight cut knowledge I knew was what I Googled and found on a bodybuilding forum. And I'm like, okay, like, let's
Sure.
go. This is how you cut weight. Yeah. So I think most people did it that way. Most people figured out how to cut weight their own way, and
Right.
what they were what they do works until a certain point where it doesn't work, and maybe it stops working because your body gets used to cutting weight that way and there's no science behind it. You're literally just taking as much water out of your body as you can and then trying to drink chicken noodle soup or something to rehydrate yourself. And it's just like, yeah, it really isn't researched science.
Yeah.
Like we're just now researching like the best ways to do it, and I think the nutritionists that they have on hand are trying their best to deal with the circumstances that they're given.
Right.
Like obviously it's not the healthiest way to put on a fight event, but they're working with what they got. So yeah, I don't think that's ever gonna happen though. Same day, at least not in the next like 5 years.
Yeah.
It would have to be a huge over the whole weigh-in process.
What she said is really my answer to that because I 100% agree with you. It's so true. I personally
This
don't
is
think it would
something
ever.
that I've thought about.
No, it's true. It's like I don't think it would happen either. I think there's too much risk, too many fights that could fall out, too much. It would affect the performance. Like I don't
Yeah.
pass.
End
Yeah,
of the day, they want to know how many fights are going to be counted on showing up, and
right.
it's easier to get them all in there, weigh in, and then let them rehydrate for 24 hours, and to try to like risk it and be like, hopefully, like we have 8 fights today.
I know because
Like that's
people are always complaining like this pay per view isn't worth it, or this free card that I'm watching on free television isn't worth it. So like people would get even more freaked out if day of all of a sudden you're like, yeah, remember that fight you guys have all been looking forward to? Like, yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So somebody asked, the Baines MMA says, they have two questions for us. As a broadcaster, Karyn, what do you prioritize? Collaborating and meshing with the others in the booth, or integrating the preparation that you've been doing for the broadcast? And then for Angie, they asked, how much can you bench? So for me, I will tell you that as a broadcaster, what do I prioritize? I do prioritize um, actually servicing the fighters. Like I prioritize. Well, I'm given a format. I know what I'm supposed to talk about. I prioritize hitting those points that I'm supposed to talk about. But my whole approach to hosting has always been that if I make other people look good, I end up looking good. So I am very much a collaborative team player host, because I never want my analysts to feel like they're drowning. I never want them to feel like, because this is what I've done for a very, very long time. And I know a lot of you fighters are just learning this. And so I want you to look at me as the safety net, as the life preserver, as the like bus driver of like, hey, either it's my stop or I don't want to get off yet, but like, because I always tell the new people or whatever, I'm like, just look at me, give me a this, give me a heads up, give me a fix something. I'm here for you. So the main, I will say that my priority as the host is obviously servicing the information that I'm supposed to get out, but much more so, I want it to be a cohesive experience where everybody feels comfortable and feels like they are supported to give their opinions, and they are never felt like they're hung out to dry, or that they were attacked, or that whatever. Like, I very much want to be the like I said, the bus driver. And like I've even said it before, like, you guys can be high, drunk, whatever. I don't care, whatever you needed to do to make a good show, but I know that I'm the bus driver. So like, I'm always going to be sober and 100% convinced on like everything that I'm doing. But that's what's actually fun for me is being in the position to know when we have time to play, when we don't. Like, I don't know, but collaboration is incredibly important to me. So how much can you bench?
I don't know. I'm not a bench presser. I do like I do dumbbell presses. What was the highest I've done? The highest I've done was 245s with dumbbells, but that was like eight.
Wait.
That was like 8 or 12. So I don't know. I bet like one bench press I could probably do a decent amount. I don't know. I'll try it. When I go back to my conditioning place. See what happens.
What do you consider a decent amount?
I don't know. I've never really done bench presses before. Like, I've done them with the bar, and then I added like a little bit of weight, but it was never part of my routine. I always do dumbbell presses. So 2 45-pound dumbbells. That's my PR.
Because at first, when you said 245, I was like, holy crap, you benched 245 pounds.
Oh, no. I mean, no, I can't do it. I'm pretty sure I can't do that. I feel like I could bench press my husband. So that's about one.
He's a lightweight.
That's about 160.
Yeah.
I feel like I could bench press him.
Okay. I don't
At least
know.
one rep.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the whole thing, right? It's like, what could you bench press if the car was turning over on top of him and you needed to save his life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I could lift a ton if that was happening.
Totally. Yeah, I have no idea what I could bench, but I just thought that was a funny question, because I mean, maybe girls do. I don't know if that's a thing girls do as much as guys. I don't know if that's a totally sexist thing to say, but
pop up.
Does it though?
It's like those. Yeah, it makes them keeps them from laying down. I mean, we don't really have.
I was just about to say, well, then, itty bitty titty. Yeah,
maybe in 30 years, we'll
maybe
be happy.
I know, right?
Bench presses. There you go.
Maybe I should consider doing that a little more, right? Okay. Okay, so let me go. Okay, so I know we have a bunch more. Okay, so there's very strange. Okay, there's some that I was just thought that was a little weird, so I wasn't really sure where to go in these. Do you know what I mean? Where sometimes you're like, I know. Okay, so Artemis and Cherry is asking, scariest fighter of all time in their prime, and then they said mine is the axe murderer of Vanderlei Silva when he was in prime. And I think that's an incredibly fair choice. Like, who, when you think back of scary fighters and stuff, like, who comes to mind? Because I do think Vanderlei, and he's doing the cachorro loco, and he's doing this whole thing. Like, he was legit scary.
He looked like a nutcase. Yeah, like you felt like if the ref got in the way, he'd kill the ref. Yeah, he was pretty scary. There are a few people. I always thought Melvin Manhoef looked like a fucking monster, and his walkout was so cool. Like he's wearing like a gladiator skirt, first of
Right.
all, and he has a dog chain around his neck. So you're just like, what is happening? This is crazy, and he's just like bopping back and forth and getting all amped. And you're like, oh man, all that energy is gonna go straight to his opponent, right to
Yeah.
his opponent's face. I feel so bad for him. So yeah, that's he's definitely one that's scary. And his kicks looked insane, especially with that skirt on. Like
Right.
anytime he kicks, like you can see the kinetic energy, like from his hips twitching so fast, and like the heaviness of his legs. And yeah, he's definitely one of my scariest. Like a lot of times I'll watch someone fight and I'll be like, man, I wonder if he'd be like fun to spar because like yeah, they're not gonna try to kill me, but it'd be fun to
Right.
move around with them. And I'm like, I feel like he'd accidentally like knock my head off of my body.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Well, because his legs are so thick too.
Yeah, yeah, and he's just like so springy and like once he gets going with a combination, it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Like it's just like it never stops. Like his body just goes like chit, 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 and his arms are just fucking going with it. It's really fun to watch. So yeah, that's my answer.
Nice. Well, I would say I think Vanderlei is a very solid choice because yeah, in his prime,
For
that man
sure.
was incredibly scary, and I have spoken a lot when I used to work with Bryant Stan. We talked a lot about that fight that those two had, and he's like, it's incredible. He's like, I swear to God, I knocked him out, but then all of a sudden he just like woke up. And here he is again, and he's like, "I thought I killed you, and you haven't died."
Not fair. It's like Jason.
Yeah, exactly. And I know Vanderlei, and he's actually a really sweet guy and a lovely guy. And he's told me some very funny stories. Like, if people are here looking at this on my YouTube channel, they should look up this really funny story that Vanderlei told me one time about. Think about how scary he is. Basically, the story is about how a guy was fighting with him over the armrest on an airplane. You don't want to fight. Let's just say you don't want to fight with Vanderlei for an armrest. Like, you pretty much want to give that man the armrest.
Oh man, what did
But
he do to him?
yeah, but people might want to look that up. It's pretty funny, but I agree. But I would say, like, in terms of, I know they mean scary in a lot of ways because Manoff's a great example. But I think like Aldo in his prime, right? Like that guy that was just unbeaten for
Yeah,
10 years, who just the leg just demolished, just trashed people. You know what I mean? For 10 years,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, if you're going in there to fight Aldo, you were like, ah, crap. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, goodbye, legs. It was
right.
fun while it lasted.
Right, right. Because I'm saying I've talked to Kenny Foran a lot about that. So, like, I think in my mind, I think of that as like a very scary thing. And yeah, I think Aldo would have been real scary. He's still scary. So, like in
For
Prime
sure,
Aldo
for sure.
and like Prime Pride Shogun and all, like a lot of those Pride guys, like were
Oh
Prime.
yeah, there's so
Yeah,
many. Like it's hard to pick one. It's like picking a favorite song or something. Like especially like in the Pride days, there's so many like guys who just demolished everyone.
right, right.
Overeem is another one that I would pick too.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so here was a question. So this one is from Rick, who wrote to me on Instagram. Rick says, "We all know KBE is hustling tennis. Yes, I am. Thank you very much. He was playing the last couple of days. But they says, Angie, do you have any sports you enjoy away from the fight game?"
Hate team sports.
Okay, but you can maybe golf. Maybe you golf. Maybe you. I don't know.
Nah, I don't really do anything outside of fighting. Like that's the one sport I enjoy. I'm trying to think. Like I played a bunch of sports when I was a kid. Like I played softball for a year. I did track for a year. I played basketball for a year, but I would always just get kind of sick of it. I'd be like, "Oh, I hate this. This sucks." They're not trying as hard as I am. I think I've always been a try hard.
Okay.
Hence the nickname. So I would always get like annoyed when the other girls on the team or the other kids on the team weren't hustling as much as
Mhm.
I was. But I'm trying to think. I feel like I've played something recently that was pretty fun. I don't know. I would say esports, but like I'm horrible at video games. I just really enjoy playing them. So yeah, maybe I'll just say that. Esports, sports where you don't move, but you still end up sweating your ass off.
Well, you bring up a good point because I tweeted the other day that I'm looking for a PS5, and when I get one, I was actually thinking that we could do some gaming together. Maybe I was telling the kid that maybe I'll start a Twitch channel, so she's going to help me. But I need to figure that. She told me Detroit something is a really good game. It's like a choose your adventure game. Detroit
Yeah,
something.
Detroit.
She said the other day.
What's it
I can ask
called?
her.
It's like Detroit Be Real or something.
Detroit
Or
made
Detroit.
something or whatever. Whatever.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
got her door closed. Anyway, she told me that one was cool, and I told you her best friend's dad is one of the who does the sound on The Last of Us and all that stuff. So we are like,
Oh.
yeah, which is pretty cool. So I'm 100% garbage at video games, like garbage. I'm a full on button masher. But I was like, hey kid, if we get a PS5, I was like, maybe I'll start a Twitch channel. Yeah, Angie and I can Twitch together. And I was like, and maybe people would think it's funny to watch me be how terrible I am. So if I can secure the PS5, then we will start to do some twitching. But it's funny because
Me too. I can't find one.
I will, dude. If I get one, I'll buy two. I'm like, I won't buy it from a scalper, but like if it comes to the bundle thing or whatever, yeah, I'll pay for the bundle or whatever. But I'm not trying to buy like a resale one or whatever. But anyway, it's like I don't want to pay that much for it. Come on,
it ruins it for you. You
it
just feel like a
does.
chump.
Exactly. But yeah, it's funny that you say you played softball and basketball because a long time ago, obviously, it's a long time ago. But when I was in high school,
Detroit Be Human. Sorry,
that's it.
Detroit Be Human.
That's right. Right.
It popped in my head. I had to say it again. Okay,
good
continue.
call. But yeah, I played softball, basketball, and I played baseball until they made me switch to softball. But I played soccer, basketball, and baseball, and I really liked them. Baseball was my best sport. So what I have to ask you, what position did you play when you played softball?
I don't remember.
Left out.
Ago. I don't even think I had a position. I was
left
in the outfield, I think, because I was always hustling, so they knew I'd run and get the ball. I feel like I was taking advantage a lot as a kid on a sports team. Like when I did track, I had to run the one where you do 4 laps.
The 880 or whatever.
1600 or 1500?
No, that's the 880 or the 1600 or something like that. I hate running.
Yeah,
so
1600. I was so mad because I'm like, they know that I hate this, but they also know that I'm not going to give up. They know I'm gonna like run my ass off on the last lap because I'm just an idiot and like I'm so competitive and I have to win. So like they put me on the outfield so I can run and get the ball and throw it as fast as I can. I think in basketball I was like a point guard, so I think that was a lot of hustling too, like jumping to get in the ball. I couldn't dribble for shit, but I would like steal the ball, like give me the ball, and then pass it to the girl who could shoot. I was always just. I would have made a great if I had played hockey. I would have made a great goon because I was just like be like
the enforcer.
All right, let's go.
The enforcer.
I'm gonna, like rough you up, and then somebody else will get the puck.
Nice. Well, it's funny. Okay, yeah, because I played third base and shortstop, and then I was also the catcher for softball and baseball, which I really liked. Had a good arm. I could throw from the crouch to second base, which is great. I used to bat cleanup.
Nice.
Like I said, that was like my favorite sport, and I actually would love it if I could find a softball team or something in town. Because the thing is, I wouldn't play third base anymore because I don't want to catch a line drive in the face. But I would still probably catch because my knees are still good. I don't know how good my arm is. I helped coach my daughter's t-ball team when she was playing a few years back, so that was really fun. Basketball was fun. Soccer I liked because I was like an enforcer too. I played either sweeper or fullback. And you're like the last line of defense, right? So you're like, come on, bitch, come on.
Yeah.
Which is fun. I was the keeper for a while too, but I don't like being keeper. So I much prefer to be sweeper or fullback. So that was really fun. Yeah. Okay, so let me look for some more because I know we got a bunch of questions. I mean, Okay, so here we go. So Steve Griffone is asking, do I train any MMA? Well, I used to train boxing, and I used to
those gloves back
I
there.
was just going to say, well, my new Bryant boxing gloves, thank you so much to the Bryant boxing, because listen, Angie, nothing ever has my first name spelled correctly, because everything is Karen, and I am not a Karen. But the Bryant boxing guys sent me these, which are amazing. So I used to box over at PKG. I haven't done that in a bit, so I'll probably go up and see the guys at Fortune, my good friends at Fortune Gym. They train Manny Pacquiao and a bunch of other people as well, because PKG moved. But I can also see my Kings MMA guys here in town. But honestly, part of the reason I don't train more is because I need to be with trusted people, right? Because I can't get punched in the face. So, like, I can't show up with a black eye. You can because you're a fighter, but if I show up to work with a black eye or some weird random thing, like, they're not looking for that from me.
Well, like you don't have to spar. You can just
But
do
you know,
like
I'd want to,
paddling
is the
and
thing.
stuff. Oh, you want to spar? Ah, you get that
Yeah, I mean,
temptation.
I will, and I've had some friends that are great at jujitsu, so they've shown me some things. So I could do maybe some jujitsu privates. I guess that's the thing is like I need to be with people I can trust, right? Because I just can't
Yeah.
afford to like have an errant like elbow in the face or a key burn or a whatever. Like I just can't. I can't.
I think you look cute with a little black eye. Just saying.
A little black guy or a little black eye. I was
Either one. I mean, whatever comes first.
whatever comes first. Look at you. Equal opportunity. Equal opportunity. Oh my God, Dean Thomas, you are a fool. He says, are there any MMA injuries that hurt more than a hot comb to the back of the neck?
Oh my god. Fucking Velcro burn is really annoying. Velcro burn feels just like I got some on my chin right now. You can't really see it. It's not as aggressive as a hot comb to the back of the neck, but it's definitely you definitely feel it in the shower in the same way. You know what I mean? Like it's you're like, ugh, why you do that to me? Why you
What's
do
it
that to
from?
me?
What happened? What
Velcro
happened?
burn.
I know,
What
but Velcro
happened?
from what? Like,
From glove. So
yeah.
whenever you're sparring and the gloves aren't taped up, then that can happen. Like some gloves have like nice little sleeve over it or whatever, but if they have Velcro gloves and the rough part of the Velcro is exposed a little bit, then you're always gonna get scratched up, and it happens all the time. Like I used to be like, "Oh, can you put tape on your gloves?" No, no, I don't fucking care. I know it's gonna happen. Um, but it's so annoying because you'll feel it when it happens. You're just like, that's gonna burn. And then you get in the shower and you're washing. You're like, I knew it was gonna suck. So yeah, that's really annoying. I feel like that's the only thing comparable.
Okay, yeah, because the hot comb does burn.
Yeah, I think it's the surprise. Even though you know it's gonna happen, it's the surprise that pisses you off more than
Right.
the actual burn.
Okay, so here's a question that came in from my mom, Ange. And
Wow.
she says, Angie, do you have a go-to technique, ritual, or whatever that you do to lift your spirits after a downer? Because my mom writes to me after, and she's like, she sends me messages, and she's like so sad that the fight didn't go your way and everything. And I'm like, I know, mom, I
Aw.
know. And so then she's all like worried about you and everything.
Well, the good thing about this fight was I finally got to get my like hug from my mom
Yeah.
afterwards. So that was like the best like I've had so many losses now and it really sucks. And she's hasn't been able to be there for everyone,
Yeah.
but the last time that I lost and she was there, it just made me feel so much better. You know, just knowing that you have that safety net, like she's not gonna like say, "You're not my daughter anymore."
Exactly.
Because I lost the fight, you know, like she's like, "You're still my girl. You're still my girl." And she gave me a big old mama hug, and you just feel like
Yes.
a little baby again. So that's a good one. That's a good one that I've been missing out on with the quarantine fights, and I finally got to get my big mama hug. So that's always nice. And then I think just sitting down with my coaches and watching the fight and seeing where we could have done better and seeing where we could have improved and how we're going to move on from that and just making a plan for moving forward as opposed to like dwelling too much on the past. Like that's usually the best way for me to cope with it because as soon as I do that, as soon as I have like a good training session where we're working on these things that I messed up on, my mood is completely
Mm-hmm.
changed. You know, I'm just like I have more pep in my step. I'm like smiling more where before I'm just like you know. So
Yeah.
it makes a big difference, and I think that works for anything in life where you feel like you fucked up. Just looking back at it, however you can, and making a plan for preventing that from happening and being better in the future. Like just planning ahead and trying to fix those wrongs is the best way to deal with it, because if you just like let it fester and you never look at it or address it, then you're just going to be moping about it forever, you know. So
Are
that's my go-to.
are you able to see your successes even in a losing effort, or do you only like pick on yourself?
No, no, I definitely look at the good too, you
Okay.
know. And it's important to do that just because, yeah, like you have to see, hey, you did some things in this fight that you've never done before. So that's the best part of like looking at it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that looked better than I thought it did. Oh, that looked kind of smooth, you know. But
Yeah.
then you look at these other parts where you're like, and being able to just like fucking stare at it in the face and see, okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but also let's work towards making it better and
Yeah.
ironing out these deficiencies, and then focusing on the things that you did well, not just this fight but the past like 4 or 5 fights. Then those are ways that I'm able to cope and able to rise above and continue. Also, staying off of social media. So I asked you to get the questions.
That that and the magical herbal elixir helps. I'm
And
sure
the
as well.
herbal elixirs, yes. Essence of herb. Essence of herb, the essence of hops,
Yeah, exactly. I
and
know because
all
I
those
know
good
for
things.
me, yeah, I'm very bad. Like I hate watching myself on anything, and I'm hyper critical, and so it's very hard for me to see the positive in something. So that's why I asked you that, because I know for me, I have like a very aggressively awful inner monologue, which I really need to like work on. And I have a I'm not really good at seeing my successes. I'm
Hmm.
like hypercritical, and it's a problem. So I'm glad that you are able to see when you do
Same.
good stuff.
No, same. It's like
Yeah.
anyone who's like, especially when you're on the big stage, and you always feel like you have to represent,
Yeah.
and there's tons of pressure on your shoulders. It's just like, yeah, you're gonna be hypercritical on yourself. You're gonna be the worst critic. So to be able to just like take a step back and be like, all right, chill. Like let's look at the bright side. Let's look at some of the good things that you did. it's
Yeah.
it's really a skill that you have to work at, and it took me a long time to be able to do that. Even when I was winning everything before I went
Yeah.
pro, like I was still like, like it was hard for me to enjoy what my fight like, because I'm like, I look better on pads than I do in the ring, and it's just like, yeah, it's this weird thing where you just have to get over yourself and just be like, hey, this is good, and we're gonna do better next time, and let's
Yeah.
focus on the good, and keep making the good better, and yeah, keep
Well, I
on roll.
keep on rolling. And I also think too, because for me, it's like, oh, I said that stupidly, or I didn't do that right. And then I also think people are on their phones. They could be like doing all kinds of who knows what else, like while our show is on in
Yeah,
the background. Like, so the thing that I sit there and I go home and I beat myself up over, I said this thing wrong. Like, it was a blip on a live show
yeah.
that like most people aren't registering, but I beat myself up over it. So whatever, but whatever. That's just stupid. That's just me. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. Let's see. Oh, I can't stop. A couple of these we cannot answer. Somebody is asking who we think is the most handsome fighter. Won't be doing that.
Oh,
No, Angela, we have seen what had happened
because
with
I can't
Sugar.
read on.
No, we've seen what happened with Sugar Sean and Casey Kenny and stuff like that. I'm not about to sit out here and talk about who I think is handsome. That is not going to happen.
Well, you're not singling someone out and saying that you'd only, you never
I'm not going to do it.
have shit unless it was like 5 a.m. Like this is a very different.
I'm not going to
This
do
is a
it.
very different. I'm
I'm
not.
just
I'm
saying.
not having you.
I'm just
When
saying
you
for
compliment, then you don't get shit for.
yeah, but I'm not gonna name any names, but I will just say this for me as a rule. Not that I can't find people attractive, because I definitely know we have some very good looking people in the lighter weight classes. I'm 5'8". And so for me, it's like if I can't wear your jeans, if I can't borrow your pants and stuff like this, like I'm just gonna feel bad about myself. So for me, in terms of fighters, like the ones that I think are quote unquote hot or whatever, are probably gonna be welterweights are up because I'm not small. Like, unless we, I know we have some people that are lightweights or 45ers that are happen to be 6 feet tall, but that's very rare. I'm just saying, as a 5'8" woman, I like to feel petite every now and then, and that rarely happens. So,
You want to be able to wear heels.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So who is it?
You,
Come
I will,
on.
you know, and I'll never tell. So shut up.
Can I tell?
No, because I'll just cut it out.
Ooh.
I will just cut it
Next
out.
week on the what happened was with Angela Hill only.
Hey, okay, so
Who Karyn Bryant is in love with. No.
here's a question. It says, "I'm so sorry in advance, but who do you have, Paul or Tyron?" And then they said, "Sincere apologies." And then they said, "Love the podcast from a fan in Scotland." This is Ross. Thinking of Scotland.
Oh, interesting.
Your husband is
Yes.
Scottish?
My husband is from Scotland.
Yes, he is. What do you think, Paul or Tyron? I gotta say Tyron, because of course, I don't think Jake Paul can beat him, but of course I'm gonna say too.
But I'm nervous as fuck for him. Like it's. I mean, at this point, like anything could happen. Like I was like, oh yeah, Ben Askren. No way that some guy who just started training and has only had the equivalent of smokers is gonna come in and drop a pro MMA fighter who's been in the gym all his life and has sparred against every level of competition. Yeah, that didn't work out well. So I'm very nervous for him, but he's got this, man. He's got this. He's still got this. Like he's thick, looking very thick, like a little Mike Tyson-ish, with the size difference, like a little meatball. So I feel like he's gonna have that power, and especially like I always say, look at the power of the boot.
I was just gonna say, you look like you're framing up his butt.
It is. It's huge. I mean, with Tyron, I gotta be out here. Like that thing is huge. So when you look at the booty, when it's nice and round,
the power, right?
Yeah, dude, there's so much power in there because all the striking, the power in the striking comes from the legs. So he has that big old glute muscle pushing those punches, and they're not going to be dehydrated this time. They're going to be nice and healthy and rotund. So I feel like he should be able to get the job done. But we'll see. I'm not gonna clown him if he doesn't, because like Paul is actually better than a lot of people thought he was, including myself. So I'm not gonna clown him if he doesn't get the job done. But I have faith in Tyron. He's got it in the bag.
I agree with you. I went to the press conference recently. I do have videos with both of these guys, with Jake and with Tyron. But I mean, look at people know I've known Tyron for a long time now. 11 years, 12 years, something. This is one of my homies. So, of course, I believe in Tyron, and I believe in him. I believe in his training and like all the things you said, the power and everything. And I know there are some differences between somebody who's been only training boxing and somebody who's been doing MMA, but I still think that Tyron's experience should overrule, the 3 years that Jake has been doing boxing. And I do also think that, yes, I agree with you. He's maybe better than people give him credit for, but I still think that Tyron should win that. So
yeah, you got this. You got this.
Retro Rescuers. Yeah, here we go. Beat that ass. Retro Rescuers. Angie Overkill. What was your first ever video game console you owned, and what was your go-to game on the system?
Yeah, Retro Rescuers. My first console was what is it called? It wasn't a Neo Geo. It was I can't remember the name. Well, actually, I think it was a Neo Geo, but that was my first console. So it was like one of those like first ones that came out when Nintendo was about to come out. Okay. So like my dad was really into the newest thing. He got like a big screen TV when it was still like a huge box with a projector in the back.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then whenever like a new video game console came out, he would get it. So we had Neo Geo, we had I think we had Atari for a while, and I can't think of the other one that we had, but yeah, those are the consoles I had. First game I remember playing was Bonk, which is I fell in love with it because I was really into dinosaurs, and it was like this caveman that would like jump on dinosaurs' heads and stuff. It was kind of like a side scroller like Super Mario, but
Uh-huh.
it was a caveman and he was fighting dinosaurs. So that was like one of my favorite games. And he could climb up walls with his teeth because he
Okay.
was a caveman.
There you go.
So, so yeah, that was one of my first gaming memories.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, and of course, folks, as we mentioned, if we can secure some PS5s, you can
I know.
watch us on Twitter. So somebody, wait, where? Let's see. Okay. Somebody, there was one where somebody. I wish I could remember who it is now, but I'm just going to go ahead and answer it. Somebody on Twitter had asked me, how well do I know the Red Hot Chili Peppers? Because they see the poster in the back and they were like, oh, I see it. I watch it on the big screen. So the thing is that I know those guys from way back when, like, so I used to run a radio station, and so they would come to my radio station. So the first time I saw them, like, Hillel Slovak was still in the band, and I remember seeing them at this club called the Living Room in Providence, Rhode Island. I went to Brown. I worked at WBRU, and then I eventually ran it. So anyway, the first time I saw the Peppers, Hillel was still in the band and all this stuff. So I've seen them so many times over the years. I've hung out with them, I remember one time driving around with the Peppers in my car to go take them to see Ika Mouse at the church house down in Providence. Like, I spent a decent amount of time with them because they would come to my radio station. And then also, and I have some really funny pictures with them from the day that they signed this. And the only reason that Chad isn't on there as well is because he had to go get his drums fixed that day. Unfortunately, but John Frusciante and Chad and and Anthony and Flea were there. And I have some really, really funny pictures with them. So I love them, and I would see them at Lollapalooza. I would see them at different places because then when I worked at MTV, and a funny story, when on the night of your party, remember that launch party for the Strawweights that we had in Hollywood?
Oh yeah.
So we were at that club. Well, Anthony was invited, and I remember one time, like, we were there, and so I hadn't seen Anthony in a long time, and we were talking. We were like, blah 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 blah, yada 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 yada. And meanwhile, Dana's standing there, and he's like, "Can I have my friend back?" Because he wanted to talk to Anthony. I'm like, bro, I knew him first. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things. But yeah, so they are great, and so I don't like hang out with them, and I don't whatever. But if I see them, it's great. And like Flea and I have spoken on messaging and stuff on different things. And they were just a band that I have loved forever and ever and ever. And I have a lot of positive memories. And like, if you look in the liner notes, I think for Mother's Milk, my name might be in there and that. There were some different ads and things like that. Yeah, they're just great. Just absolutely
That's
love them.
awesome.
Yeah, really, really love those guys. So but I'm not
Really
gonna.
cool.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend we're best friends or anything, but we're great.
Yeah,
So this is
that's
an
awesome.
interesting. Yeah, this is interesting. So still Jesse, we got about 8 or 9 minutes left. Still Jesse saying, how does
Okay.
Bones fit in the heavyweight picture right now with Ngannou set to face Gane for the belt, and John reportedly turning down a fight with Stipe? What do you think we do with John Jones? So does John wait for Gane versus Francis and then fight, or should you, now that we have an interim champ, could we just have Francis versus John anyway? What would you do with John in heavyweight?
I think people want to see Gon. You know, they want to see Ngannou versus Gon. I think the storyline is better. I think
Mhm.
John Jones is chilling. Like he's got a stack of money. He's chilling. He's getting fat, getting strong and big. So he can be a good heavyweight. And I don't think John minds waiting. I think he'll just mention things or tweet things out to stay in people's heads. Like, hey, I'm lurking. But I really feel like it would be in his best interest to watch that fight, watch Ngannou versus Gon first before just jumping in there. Like he's a very he's a strategy fighter
Mhm.
now, especially nowadays. Nowadays, a little older, a little wiser. He like game plans really well.
Yeah.
And I think seeing Ngannou go in there against like such a dangerous striker will show him, whoever comes out on top, it'll show him the keys to victory. So I feel like it's in John's best interest to wait it out, because he's only going to get one shot. If he doesn't win that fight, then it's back to like back to fighting the contenders who are all very good too.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to prove himself there, which is what I think a lot harder than being the champ and getting to choose who you're going to fight next. So yeah, I think it's in his best interest to wait. I think most fans want to see Gon, but he's still not like as huge of a name even after beating Derek Lewis. He's still not like, I guess, a crazy big draw, but he will be if he fights Ngannou and wins. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
so he's still trying to make that like headliner name value, and Ngannou already has it. I think the storyline sells itself enough that people would be excited for that fight, and I think it makes sense for John Jones to just wait it out, see what it looks like, and keep building himself as a heavyweight.
I 100% agree with you. If Gon hadn't won, I think things might have been a little different. But the fact that, yeah, they have Fernand Lopez in common, that whole backstory is just way too interesting for the UFC to not exploit that. Like, it's just way too interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna show up to training sessions and be like, "Hey, who you got?" To the coach,
Right.
like,
Right. Right.
awkward.
And I 100% agree too. Like you said, John, it's not like John needs to fight. He's not hurting for cash. So, you know,